Real Chat, Episode 3, 7.
Do you like what you do for a living? These things you see?
You have to wear blinders sometimes. Most times.
Detective William Somerset is looking for a way out.
You're retiring. 6 more days and you're all the way gone.
So how long have you lived here?
Too long.
Detective David Mills is looking for a way in.
We'll be spending every waking hour together from now until the time I leave. I'll show you who your friends and enemies are.
Look, I worked homicide 5 years. Not here.
Now,
Ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a homicide.
they're caught in a game.
No fingerprints and no witnesses of any kind.
Nope.
About the only thing we know about that guy right now is he's totally insane.
Where the price of sin is death.
There are 7 deadly sins. Gluttony,
You're going to come take a look at this.
greed,
No one touches anything.
sloth, wrath, pride, lust, and envy. 7. You can expect 5 more of these.
Body was found on Tuesday morning.
I hate this city.
We're gonna get who did this.
This will be the very definition of swift justice.
There are 2 more bodies, 2 more victims.
This guy's methodical, exacting, and worst of all, patient.
He's laughing at us.
He had a gun.
He's 2 murders away from completing his masterpiece.
Let's finish it.
Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
No.
7.
Ernest Hemingway once wrote, "The world is a fine place and worth fighting for," I believe, the second part. So, everybody, welcome to Episode 3 of Real Chat, a new podcast totally committed to and focused on film as a form of entertainment. It's time for a total change of pace and mood. So today we're looking at director David Fincher's dark, stylish and respected thriller, 1995's 7, or the stylized 7 with the V replaced with the numeral 7.
Where does 7 appear in your top 25, Adam? Is it in there?
No.
If we narrowed Back to the Future down to top 5, can we put a bit of pressure on you and get 7 in at number 7, or is it...
7 does not appear in number 7.
It doesn't
I know that would be amazing, but it doesn't.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
right. Well,
Bruce.
it's. I don't know if it's in my top 25 because I don't think that much. But I got to tell you, this is the best movie with a title in it until 10 Things I Hate About You came out. Okay, so this is pretty good quality film. This on the commentary, Fincher talks about the marketing of the film just a little bit. We'll talk about more about the commentary later. And he was talking about how hard it was to try and explain simple graphic ideas to promote the film that he thought would be quite effective. So he wanted to release a poster with 7 slashes across it, or 7 stitches, which became part of the imagery of the film. That's it. That was the poster. And everyone in marketing kind of thought, no, that's bizarre. So I'm kind of wondering if the 7 in the 7 is just some compromise for some idiot marketing person who doesn't understand that 7 quite violent slashes in a poster would be a brilliant way to advertise this amazing film. But
it just seems to work. I mean, it's just written like that. And on IMDb and the like, it's written like that. You actually have to type it in with the 7 in order to actually find it.
I tried to find it on IMDb, and it for 20 minutes. Like, where is this film? I'm sure it exists.
Exactly. The 7 deadly sins, they are the most deadly vices, according to Pope Gregory the Great in the 6th century. So my name's Adam Stolfo, and I'm joined here today by Brose Avard. Which one of the 7 deadly sins would John Doe come after you for?
The 7 deadly sins. Sleepy, maybe?
Sleepy.
Or grumpy? Are they the 7 deadly sins? Bashful. Maybe it was... No, bashful.
Bashful.
Did you... What were the... What,
well, we've got lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride.
Sloth, I guess.
Sloth?
No, I just...
You reckon?
I don't know. Yeah.
Mr. Andrew McCaskill to my left over here, mate. So what would be the... deadly sin that you would be tracked down for?
Hard to isolate it just to one, Adam, but I would probably say if you get a bowl of pasta in front of me, it'd be gluttony.
That's a good one. I like it. Bowl of pasta.
Yeah. See, I'd go with gluttony too, because I'll just, not only is I'm a glutton, I want to be all the sins. I'm just going to take all of them. Just give me all the
That's greed.
That's greed. That's greed. And to my right over here, Mr. Matthew O'Neill. Welcome back.
Yeah, hello. Thanks for having me back.
Deadly Sin?
Yeah. At the moment, I'm going to go with Lust, but that's only because I'm sat across from Andrew. So, yeah, I'd be gone for that at the moment.
This is the third episode of our Vintage Vault retrospective series, a conscious effort to tie in selected shows with something of relevance to the present. But why 7? Well, I gave everyone involved in Real Chat an opportunity to choose an episode to do as part of this pilot series. And Mr. Andrew McCaskill over here is the lucky man for this episode. So why 7, Andrew? Where does this film sit in film legacy?
Yeah, basically, it's almost 19 years, well, it is 19 years old now. And it
does have a 20th anniversary next year.
Staggering to think that it's 19 years old. And it just has had such a massive impact in pop culture and cinema and television, art design. Since then, basically, it's just had such a massive impact on so much of what we see today and everyday TV, and it's worth exploring why it's been such a massive influence. Because just watching it again the other night, it's just it hasn't dated really. It's staggering. And
I asked the guys as well to choose films that had some sort of relevance to the present, but that already seems to have been sort of thrown out of the window. Pretty much with some of the ones that we've got coming up for you as well. But I guess the main connection to now is director David Fincher's reputation and stature.
And he just released recently Gone Girl, which is doing amazing things at the cinema as well. So
yeah, so I mean,
Gone Girl is one of those amazing films. I just want to talk about this really quickly. I saw the preview for it, and I wasn't really interested in it, and it was before I was going to see something else. And then I saw it again, but it wasn't until I realised it was Fincher that I'm like, oh, this is actually going to be a good film. Because the trailer was just any other generic, bloody, weird, suspenseful thriller trailer. It wasn't nothing special. But when you realise that Fincher's directing it, you're like, all of a sudden, this is going to take it up an extra notch. So I haven't seen it as of yet, but I can't wait to get a good look at it.
I think, I'm not sure if Matt's seen it, but I think Andrew's the only person who's seen it, and you're a little bit disappointed. Not that this is going to be a review of Gone Girl.
That's the thing. I mean, I was disappointed with it, but he's finally getting that kind of those accolades now. Like, he's really seen as one of the great American filmmakers of today. And it's been a long road because he's, particularly Seven's a perfect example of a film where he had to fight to the end to get the vision that he wanted. Now he's pretty much got free slate to do whatever the hell he wants, which is, kudos to him because he deserves it. He's an incredible artist.
Although after Benjamin Button, maybe that should have been retracted. Maybe we need
a closer
look at something.
Let's review that.
He wants to deal with issues of his father's death. Can you not do it for 3 hours in the cinema? Jesus, man.
Well, he's done well as well considering Alien 3. This was his film straight after, wasn't it? Alien 3, which is quite remarkable, really. Cause,
to have that massive battle with that, and then to have complete control.
Well, I think, Alien 3. I think we have to thank because without that horrifying experience that he had making it, he probably wouldn't have made 7 because he was so determined to get his vision made that,
See, I'd go so far as to say that, 7 can be considered Fincher's first film.
Yeah.
Alien 3 was a blockbuster, it was a studio film, it was a third film directed by 2 other directors. He's the third director on board in that franchise. It's nothing to do with David Fincher. And Adam was saying, we were talking about this just before we started recording, there are some great Fincher moments in Alien 3, but it's not Fincher's film, and he didn't have final cut on it. There's a whole bunch of stuff in that film that basically, let's ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist. When we're looking at the canon of David Fincher, we can look at it in the evolution of David Fincher, but when we're looking at him as the auteur, this is the film. And what a bloody film it is too. He is all over everything in this film. Like top to bottom, the cinematography, the music, the performances and the acting, the locations. Like he's not some director that's sitting back and just, he's choosing these amazing people to work with and continuing his vision throughout the whole film. And that's what blew me away. I haven't seen this film for quite a while, but he's such a thorough director and he's such a full... I mean, I'm not all on board with the auteur theory, but he is such an amazing auteur. This film is just incredible.
I hadn't seen this film for nearly 20 years.
Yeah, since it came out, yeah.
I reckon at least 17 years or something like that. And watching it again now, all I could say at the end, I was watching it with my old man and I just turned to him and I sort of said, wow. I said, that film is incredible. You're just sort of, overwhelmed at the end. Amazing. Do you think it's remembered as much today as it is when it came out? It definitely made quite an impression when it was new.
I don't know. I think it's still out on the outskirts. Like you think of a film like Silence of the Lambs, which is, very much celebrated as the pinnacle serial killer film from the 90s, and 7's held up there, but it just still hasn't got that esteem that a film like Silence of the Lambs has got. For some reason, I don't know why, but...
I think it's because of the films that influenced after weren't weren't exactly that great.
It's a bit like the Pulp Fiction syndrome, isn't it?
Well, it kind of opened the door for like almost torture porn. I mean, not exclusively, but like people took, you know, the deadly sins, the whole lead up, like how he was going about killing all these people in the film. Films like Saw just kind of expanded on it and concentrated on the actual murdering that took place, whereas Seven was so clever just to show little snippets, and it was just the atmosphere that really drew you in, you know.
Seven isn't gratuitous at all.
No, not at all. Not at all, which is a shame, because I would have loved to have seen that dildo scene played out. Just because, you know.
But that's the thing, like, you feel like you did see it. Like, the way that they create that atmosphere that you're talking about, you know, just that pounding music and going down those stairs in that horrible, horrible place. And it's just like hell. And you're just bracing yourself to see something horrible, but you never get shown it. And it's just all in your head. It's brilliant.
Seven, a New Line Cinema release. It was released on the 22nd of September 1995 in the US and the 2nd of November 1995 in Australia. It was shot primarily in Los Angeles, California. Have you seen any of the locations from Seven when you went to Los Angeles, Andrew?
Yes, that's. I must admit that I did go to a couple of locations.
Which ones?
I actually went to the cafe that Morgan Freeman and Gwyneth Paltrow have their conversation at.
Yep. Did you sit in the same spot where they sat?
Or? I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
Wow, you went to that level?
Yeah, I'm a real nerd for it, I must admit. Yeah.
I mean, I went to Cat Steiner and pretended to have an orgasm, but I hadn't seen When Harry Met Sally at that point, so I didn't realise that was a thing.
It's just that the place has that effect on you.
It does. They're brisket, wow.
It has a budget of an estimated $33 million, and it grossed, this is what I found amazing, it grossed $327 million worldwide,
wow,
which is fantastic for an R-rated movie because you're already taking out that gigantic demographic.
It's like the kiss of death for some films.
Well, I got turned away from the cinema as a 16-year-old to see this, with my old man. So my money's not included in that, 300 million there. So, well, yeah, because I was 16.
Well,
it was hard.
A bit of a prick. What is it?
He took me to see it.
I think it evens out, Brose, because we already established in the last episode how cool his mum is. So it's just a balance.
Well, one of them's got to be that's right.
Can I just say that I was on holiday in the beachside and went and saw this film when I was 15 and took my parents to see it. And I was way too young to see it because I think it's part of its power. It shook me to hell, basically. And as a young kid, I was so freaked out. My parents were massively disturbed as they were watching it. They wanted to walk out, and I just knew. I had this feeling that this is worth sticking out for because it was just such an experience. And we held out and we watched it. Parents still haven't really, forgiven me for forcing them to see it, but
they don't like it.
No, they've since come around and think it's amazing.
That's bizarre. I had the exact same experience with Big Mama's House. So
disturbing. Disturbing.
Still can't sleep at night.
Seven was the 7th highest grossing film in 1995. They
fudged the figures because they wanted that. Yeah,
I think they probably did. The film also spent 4 consecutive weeks in the top spot at the US box office in 1995 as well, which is also impressive.
It's very impressive, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Fincher, David Fincher, the director of this film. Started off his directing career in commercials and music videos. He directed commercials for clients including Nike, Coca-Cola, Budweiser, Heineken, Pepsi, Levi's, Converse, AT&T and Chanel. And he directed music videos for Madonna, Sting, The Rolling Stones, Michael Jackson, Aerosmith, George Michael, Iggy Pop, The Wallflowers, Billy Idol, and most recently, A Perfect Circle as well.
So all shit.
Jeez, you really soiled that fact.
Well, you'd think it would be a bit more like, underground, maybe.
It's all pop, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Michael Jackson. You just couldn't see Fincher and Jack. Although I guess Landis.
Yeah, Landis did Jackson.
It's one of my favourite Michael Jackson songs, actually, the song that he actually did the video clip for. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Who Is It?
No, I don't know that one. But it must be said that before he even started being a filmmaker, he was considered the kind of the godfather of music videos. Like he was, the respected guy because he'd made so many of the iconic music videos that we all can remember, a lot of Madonna's classic ones, like Vogue is one of the all-time greats. So it was
Vogue one of the 7 deadly sins? No, okay, sorry.
That was later on.
That was the 8th one, it was added.
Should be.
Yeah, there was that school of directors, I guess, late 80s, early 90s, There's like 3 or 4 of them were very big in music videos, and he was kind of the forerunner for that. But yeah, it's an exciting time in Hollywood when these video or music video directors became film directors and really stirred the pot up a lot. And Fincher's no different, obviously. Yeah.
Seven was Fincher's breakthrough movie. We did touch upon this a little bit at the start, but his first directing gig was the much maligned Alien 3, a project which he has since disowned, even having it removed from his filmography on some of his DVD and Blu-ray releases. So even though that franchise is very, very popular for Fox, he has distanced himself from Alien 3 due to the negative experience of working on it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've not seen, and this is a confession while we're in the mood for it, I've not seen any of the Alien films in full.
Which is the most amazing stat that you guys will hear here on Real Chat.
Can I leave? Can I just...
We're going to get to that in the series of the podcast. I'm sure I'm going to be made to watch one at some point. But I've got nothing against Alien. I've just never got to it. And I know they're significant films, and some of the best directors have directed them. Is it Ridley Scott, James Cameron, and Fincher? Are they the first 3? But yeah, I'm completely oblivious. So when you start talking about Aliens, I've got no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. What Fincher's done post-7, though, is what is most significant. Career highlights include The Game, Fight Club, Panic Room, Zodiac, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Social Network, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and then most recently Gone Girl. So that's an impressive body of work.
Absolutely, yeah. It's pretty consistent. He's obviously fascinated with the dark themes of life, and often serial killers tend to creep into his oeuvre. But yeah, he's just brilliant at creating menacing stories and thrilling you on the edge of your seat.
Definitely.
For me, I still reckon this, closely followed by Zodiac's, probably his best films. I'm not a big fan of his other ones.
I think he did amazing work on Social Network as well, but that is an Aaron Sorkin script, and he services the script incredibly well. He had some really nice tweaks, and his depth as a director comes through. But it's kind of the both of them that are leading the charge on Social Network. And The Game didn't do as well as it could have, and Panic Room didn't quite do as well as it could have, did it, or was it all right?
I think from what I can remember when Panic Room came out, it was regarded as more of a traditional thriller, more than a boundary-pushing one like Seven or Fight Club or something like that.
But Panic Room had amazing visual effects, kind of groundbreaking visual effects as well, through the keyhole and stuff like that. So I guess if the script wasn't necessarily groundbreaking, he was still, as a director, flexing his muscle out there a fair bit. So the effects were the big deal for me when Panic Room came out. That's what the real buzz was about, as far as I could tell. So,
and I think a lot of people would be interested in who wrote this film. The gentleman is Andrew Kevin Walker. He's a writer and actor known for Sleepy Hollow, 7, and 8mm as well.
Oh, wow.
He spent 3 years working at Tower Records while working on the script for 7.
Well, working in retail will make you want to kill many people, so you can see where that came from.
Also, as a script doctor, he did uncredited rewrites on The Game, Event Horizon as well, and Stir of Echoes. Have you seen these movies?
Yeah, wow.
No,
I've seen Stir of Echoes, with Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
You might as well just say that he's done rewrites on films that have appeared forth in movie marathons in the 90s. Films we've all slept through.
And my favourite reference to him as well, in the world of Entourage, if you guys watched the television show Entourage, he wrote the Aquaman script according to Entourage as well, which is a nice little touch. The primary influence for the film's screenplay came from Andrew Kevin Walker's time spent in New York City while trying to make it as a screenwriter, and he's quoted as saying, "I didn't like my time in New York, but it's true that if I hadn't lived there, I probably wouldn't have written 7."
Wow.
Which is interesting. And he's also been quoted to say, "The great thing about horror is you can get away with no happy endings." That's definitely something that he's going to be known for as well.
He's been pretty quiet, though. You would have thought that would have really set his career alight, and he would have been working steadily. I don't know what he's doing now, but 7 was the big film, wasn't it? There's nothing really since that's really fit the bill. So maybe he just really needed to get that whole Tower Records experience out of his system.
He also appears in the movie in one of the deleted scenes, not in the final cut. Have you seen the deleted scene, Andrew, where there's a homeless man asking Somerset for some change to catch a bus? Have you seen that deleted scene?
In my travels, I believe I have, yeah.
That's Andrew Kevin Walker there, so there's a little cameo, put himself in there.
Nice.
Andrew, can you tell us a bit about the cinematographer for this film, Darius Konji? Is that how you pronounce his surname?
I believe it's Konji. But, no, I don't know how you pronounce it. He's French, I know that. I think maybe he's a mixture of French and Iranian, I think. But yeah, he's an incredible DOP. He came into prominence working with Jean-Pierre Jeunet in Delicatessen. there was The City of Lost Children as well. So really moody, atmospheric work.
Yeah, nice.
And yeah, then Seven was like a kind of crossover film, I think, where he really kind of stood out from the crowd, and they worked beautifully together. They just created as you said earlier, just every frame,
Work beautifully together doesn't do it justice. Like, when I was watching this film the other night, like, every single shot is like walking through a gallery. And, like, I've seen a lot of movies, and a lot of them look amazing, but very rarely do I come away saying stuff like this about a movie. And I hadn't seen it for such a long time. I remember that it had that stylistic look, but every goddamn shot throughout the entire movie, the work that it's together is sublime.
But it's not in a showy way either, is it? It serves the story, it serves the atmosphere.
It's not showy at all. That's the amazing thing about this film. It really serves the story. It really serves the actors' performances. And it's not about doing big fancy shots for the sake of it, but it just looks incredible.
Like Gotham City, it's so miserable. And I mean, they could have just shot it where I'm from, back home, and it wouldn't have cost that much because it already looks so miserable. But the constant rain and how everyone's drenched.
Let's talk a little bit about the cast from this film. So we've got Brad Pitt, obviously, as the leading man. This role of Detective David Mills was turned down by Denzel Washington. Did you know this?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Would that have been Denzel and Freeman then?
No, apparently some other people were considered for the role. Offered and considered are two different things.
Because if Freeman's not there, I reckon Michael Caine would have nailed. No, I don't know.
Denzel Washington told Entertainment Weekly that the film was too dark and evil. But he later regretted his decision upon seeing a screening. So.
But he did. I bet he did.
After seeing the box office, so he was really upset. So.
And then making Fallen and The Bone Collector as well probably would have just rubbed salt in the wound.
Yeah.
Obviously, Brad Pitt himself wasn't actually Brad Pitt as we know him now when he did Seven. So
he'd already done Interview with a Vampire and Legends of the Fall, which unfortunately was a big hit, even though it's the biggest piece of crap I've ever seen.
But what are your thoughts on?
So Brad Pitt was still a big star, but he followed this up with 12 Monkeys and Sleepers. So it's weird. It's hard to work out where Brad Pitt is because he was a pretty big name when this film came out, but he hadn't really done anything because I guess he was so good looking. The other thing worth mentioning is without Brad Pitt, Kevin Spacey wouldn't be in it.
Is that right?
Yeah. Studio
what have you heard?
Studio didn't want to spend the money on Kevin Spacey. Because it was Kevin Spacey's star was on the rise as well, and he was commanding good money in film, and it was such a small part. The studio were like, no, get someone else. We don't want Kevin Spacey. Like Fincher talks about, it's on the commentary, he talks about how he'd already been into bat for a whole bunch of stuff, and he was almost ready to let this go. They wanted Kevin Spacey. The studio said, no. He's like, it's just one of those things, and he says it. Sometimes when you're making films, you've just got to let something go, and this was going to be it. Brad Pitt stepped up and said, no, we need Kevin Spacey. He's the guy. He's going to make this film. Went to the studios, and they made sure they found the extra money to get Kevin Spacey, and it's incredible. It's incredible because when you think of Brad Pitt, you don't think of him as you think of him as the good-looking guy that's on the cover of the magazines. But
it sounds like he was throwing his weight around a fair bit early on because he also fought for the ending of the film to happen as it did. So along with Fincher, obviously, so he's obviously quite thinks he's a big deal.
It comes back to how good Fincher is with collaborating. I think like he collaborated with Pitt, he collaborated with the cinematographer. Like he's in there. It's just really impressed me.
That's the only thing I find weak about this film, watching it now, like years on, is the casting. When it came out, Morgan Freeman in this role, he'd done Shawshank Redemption, where he's pretty much playing Morgan Freeman, I think, and Brad Pitt's playing Brad Pitt, but when we saw it in 95, it was kind of fresh, But watching it now, at 1 a.m, maybe, let's say, you kind of feel like you're just watching. I mean, Brad Pitt for me was just so over the top, and
I think he's very convincing. Like he's obviously got that screen presence. I'm sure lots of girls would agree with that. But he certainly commands the screen, and I think he's kind of brings a bit of an edge to this film where he's kind of this angry character, a bit of a foul mouth, uncontrollable. So I think. Yeah, he really adds texture to the film.
He also, interestingly, given that he hadn't had much of a film career at this point in perspective, he plays this, Morgan Freeman says he's not ready to do this case. He's a bit green, he's a bit immature, he's a bit rash. And as an actor, he was kind of in that spot as well. So this is not Brad Pitt. There are some films that come later where Brad Pitt really nails a role. I only acknowledge that because it always surprises me. Because you expect him to turn up and be Brad Pitt, and then all of a sudden he starts acting, and you're like, well, the hell, I didn't pay money to see Brad Pitt act. But in this film, that kind of, it helps him. It helps that he's a bit green. It helps that he hasn't been on that many sets in a lead role. And I think that comes through a little bit. You've got the sage, experienced, incredible Morgan Freeman, and then you've got this kind of green Brad Pitt who you can see a lot of potential in, as an actor, but he's also got a lot of potential. The character, the Mills, has got a lot of potential as a detective. So it's not that he ever realises it.
I think also, Seven was a turning point for Brad Pitt's career, really, because up until then he was the Legends of the Fall kind of leading man, just perfectly manicured and shining within with good looks. But Seven just kind of he's not very, he's kind of grungy. He's kind of got the bad haircut and the goatee, and then he gets the shit kicked out of him at certain points. He's kind of bleeding profusely from the head. So it's a real kind of dingy role for him. And then, as you say, like he did 12 Monkeys after that, and he was able to kind of dirty up his image from then on and play edgier roles.
We've spoken about him a little bit already, but Morgan Freeman plays Detective Lieutenant William Somerset. During pre-production, Al Pacino was considered for the Somerset role.
Okay, yeah, right. Well, Denzel Washington and Al Pacino would...
But he decided to go and do City Hall.
It's crap.
But he does say, that's good coffee, isn't it?
But any more thoughts on Morgan Freeman, though? I mean, he's perfect in this role, isn't it?
It's bizarre with Freeman now because, some actors just play themselves. We know that. But with Morgan Freeman, I'm never disappointed when he's playing himself. I get more disappointed when he's trying a bit harder to do something else these days. So if he's just playing himself and it's well directed and it's a good script, then I'm more than happy. And he just nails it. And it's hard. I can't look at Morgan Freeman in this film and separate it, on rewatching anyway, separate it from the rest of his career after this film, because it's just Morgan Freeman to me, and I don't care. I love him. I love watching him as screen presence. I trust him. I believe him. And I want him to be right the whole time. So.
I agree, because the only time he didn't play Morgan Freeman was Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Ooh. And, I can't remember his name in that, but that was, he did his accent. At least, to be fair to him, at least he did an accent, unlike Kevin Costner. But,
Kevin Spacey plays John Doe. He doesn't really appear until the last, quarter of the film, would you say, Andrew?
Yeah.
Yeah. On the commentary, they say halfway through, but it's a little bit further on than...
Val Kilmer turned down this role, apparently.
Wow. Did he turn down the role, or was he too busy at the catering table?
The producers intended that Kevin Spacey should receive top billing at the start of the movie, but he insisted that his name not appear in the opening credits, so as to surprise the audience with the identity of the killer. I think he's incredible.
Yeah, well, there's so much build-up. The whole film is a build-up to who is the killer, and that just shows you the calibre of his craft.
It doesn't disappoint, does it?
It doesn't disappoint. He plays it down almost. It's just so, monotone and dry, and it's more powerful as a result.
Incredible choices and decisions as an actor to make that guy so creepy too. Like, he's so well aware of everything. Like, when you're on a film set, it's hard to be that intense, that type of character, when you've got 150 people buzzing around the camera behind you, and they're not just sitting patiently and watching and respecting your craft. They're still doing their job, and he is. Oh man, he is incredible in this film. But yeah, the intensity is amazing. Yeah,
he has many, many great moments in the little part of the film that he's in. But one of the moments that's just like jaw-dropping for me is the scene where he gives himself up, and the way that he just yells at Brad Pitt.
Detective. After this, I'm gone.
No big surprise.
Detective!
You're looking for me.
Hey!
What's your fucking move? But no, that is an intense scene. He's covered in blood. His face is so deadpan. Like, it's a really eerie moment for something that's... It's just a guy walking into a police station and giving himself up, but it's just...
It's the way he yells it out. The way he yells it out.
He whispers it almost when he comes in. He repeats himself, and then he just screams it out, and everyone just stops. And then he just brings it back down again and just says, "You're looking for me." It's just creepy as hell.
Gwyneth Paltrow plays Tracy Mills. Paltrow was David Fincher's first choice for the part of Brad Pitt's wife, having impressed him with her work in Flesh and Bone, a movie I haven't seen. Have any of you seen this film?
No.
Flesh and Bone? That's just Gwyneth Paltrow, isn't
it? And I've got the Gwyneth Paltrow box set, and it's not in that one. So
no, but you know what it is? Her head. So
Paltrow was...
Hang on a second, you don't really have the box set.
You'll never know.
I'm feeling very gullible today.
Paltrow was initially not interested, so Fincher had to ask her then-boyfriend, Brad Pitt, to get her to come in and meet with him. Christina Applegate turned down the role of Tracy, apparently.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
So, thoughts of Paltrow in this role?
She's in it so little. It's kind of you can get by. I
she
mean,
just has to be the the heart of gold, lovely wife. The warmest figure in the film, really.
For me, she's not great in it. What is great about her being cast in this film and the fact that she's dating Brad Pitt, that key scene when Morgan Freeman goes over to dinner with those two, and then all of a sudden his character sees he can see some potential in Mills. That relationship builds from there. But the chemistry in that scene when they're having dinner at their house is essential for the film to work from that point on. That's when those characters shift and their relationship goes to a next level. And because she's so warm and Brad Pitt and her have this amazing chemistry and then Morgan Freeman's in that mix, that helps those characters progress. It's a really nice moment. So everything else, who cares what she does in that scene? That chemistry is the reason you cast her, I think.
This is probably the one time in my life I will defend Gwyneth Paltrow, but I think she does a good job. I think that she hasn't got a... I mean, there's the big scene in the cafe when she reveals that she's pregnant, and, that's a very well-acted scene from both of them. The restraint of Freeman, and she's openly emotional, and I think in the commentary, Fincher alludes to the fact that maybe, I'm not sure which actor it was, but someone was off on the day mentally. They weren't there, and it took a bit of work to kind of get to mould that scene into what it was. And so, it's a bit of teamwork that makes that scene brilliant.
Are there any members of the supporting cast any of you guys want to mention as well? I haven't got anything here, but...
There's Leela Norsa, who plays the perpetrator of the last murder. It's a pretty phenomenal performance in the interview room. He's hyperventilating, and apparently he would actually have to build himself up between takes to the point of hyperventilating, and you can see every bit of the results of that.
He had a gun... And he made it happen. He made me do it. He put that thing on me. And he made me wear it. Then he told me to fuck her. And I did. I fucked her. Oh God, he had a gun in my mouth. The fucking gun was in my throat!
As preparation for his traumatic scene in the interrogation room, Leland Orser would breathe in and out very rapidly so that his body would be overly saturated with oxygen, giving him the ability to hyperventilate. He also did not sleep for a few days to achieve these characters' look as well. So he really got into this part.
Yeah, wow. It's a horrific moment in the film. Like that's. You're exhausted by that point because you just think, how much more can this film kind of hit you with? And he just nails that kind of...
Literally, yeah.
And Laurence Olivier said at the performance, have you heard of acting? You know that quote?
Yes. Marathon Man, isn't it?
Marathon Man quote, yeah.
I agree with it.
Yeah, I know, so do I. The other thing that's worth mentioning too, and this is something that's mentioned in the commentary, and it's a nice little moment. Bob Mack plays the gluttony victim, big fat guy in the bowl of cereal. It's actually a giant prosthetic Bob Mack in the coroner's room. So it's not an actor there, it's actually just a big latex lookalike, whatever thing. But they were saying, because of the indignity of having Bob Mack's body naked in the coroner's room, the special effects guys gave him a very large penis to compensate for the embarrassment. So that was one of the running gags on set for a bit of levity was... They'd lift up the...
Works every time.
Oh, every time. Give someone a giant penis. I mean, that's what God did to me.
Great party trick.
Yeah.
I just want to talk a little bit about the 7 deadly sins and how they're represented in the movie. First of all, we just touched on him now. The gluttony victim was an unnamed obese man who was forced to eat until his stomach bursts.
Yeah, he was forced by John Doe. I was forced once by Smorgies. So, different.
The greed victim was Eli Gould, a wealthy lawyer. He was purposefully bled to death.
Gruesome stuff.
And left in his jocks as well. It's on the photographs as they're going through them. He just bled to death in his jocks.
Two fatties so far. He's just really got a thing against fat boys.
Why did you look at me when you said that? What's your problem exactly?
You're lucky it's just a movie.
My nickname at school was Bob Mack. Oh, yeah.
The sloth victim was Victor, a notorious pedophile. He was tied to his bed for an entire year, kept at the brink of survival through drugs and medications, the experience of which causes him untold physical anguish. renders him completely insane. He later dies in a local hospital. Incidentally, he once escaped conviction for raping a minor due to the unsuccessful efforts of his lawyer, Eli Gould.
See, that's not even the worst bit. You can't see it in the shot, but he was also made to watch on a continuous loop the film work of Tim Allen. So, like, that is... what kind of torture is this man giving? It's just insane.
Actually, I don't know if we're going to be a podcast that does giveaways, but I brought a magic tree along to give away.
Wow.
You know, I mean, that's some product placement within the film.
This is an audio podcast, you know, Matt.
Oh, yeah, shit, they can't see that, can they?
Put it closer to the mic.
Yeah.
Here we go. Hang on. Here it is, the magic tree.
There you go.
Great.
That'll smell quite nice.
Now
Yeah, well, there you go.
It's very pretty. That's
fragrant. But what a great idea for covering up a decaying body.
The last victim was a prostitute who was raped and killed by a man forced at gunpoint to use a strap-on dildo with blade attachment.
Oh.
Ah, shit.
Wow.
Well, this film's really fucked up now. I'm going to leave. That's it.
Everything else is fine. But the blade, come on.
You mean it wasn't a tusk? Fuck that movie.
I was wondering why they didn't use Fleetwood Mac's tusk at that point. It would have been joyous and something to talk about with the soundtrack. But
Don't
instead,
say that you love me.
Oh, no. Oh, listening to Fleetwood Mac is more torture than anything else.
The Pride victim was a model whose nose was cut off, disfiguring her. She was provided with a telephone to call an ambulance, hence living life disfigured and scarred, and sleeping pills to commit suicide and escape the life of disfigurement. She'd choose the latter option.
Of course, as you would.
because you can't get plastic surgery to fix that up.
Couldn't get it.
Not in 95.
No.
Nor in LA.
Oh, no.
Not in LA, not in
95.
Well, see, that's the other thing, is that she was provided with a photo of Michael Jackson, and that's the best you could get those days, so, you know.
And envy and wrath are not revealed until the very end of the movie. The envy victim is John Doe. He wanted a normal family life like Mills had, and when refused to go along with him, he killed Tracy, obviously. And Detective Mills is wrath. So when John Doe reveals what he's done to Tracy, Mills becomes enraged and shoots John Doe, which is exactly what he wanted at the end. So rain that always seems to fall without respite were integral parts of the film, as Fincher wanted to show a city that was dirty, violent, polluted, often depressing, and visually and stylistically that's how he wanted to portray this world as well. So everything needed to be as authentic and raw as possible. To this end, Fincher turned to production designer Arthur Mack to create a dismal world that often eerily mirrors its inhabitants. To create a setting that reflects the moral decay of the people in it, everything is falling apart and nothing is working properly.
And yet it's absolutely beautiful, isn't it? Just to, like it, for all its decay and rotting qualities, you just watch the film and every corner has just some stunning art design, production design, just the whole kind of 1940s almost kind of touches. It's got a real classic look to it. The dimly lit lamps and the rooms.
It has very much a noirish feel to it. It's got that gumshoey kind of...
trench coats and hats. There's all of that element.
Neo-noir.
Yeah.
The brooding dark look was achieved through a chemical process called bleach bypass as well, where in the silver in the film stock was not removed, which in turn deepened the dark, shadowy images in the film and increased its overall tonal quality. That's a really good stylistic choice as well. It's raining every day in the movie except for the last day. The reason is less about thematic issues and more about continuity, actually. It rained on the first day that Brad Pitt filmed, so they kept it going as they were rushing to do all of Pitt's scenes before he had to leave and go make 12 Monkeys.
Wow.
So even though it appears to be stylistic, apparently it wasn't all based on that. When we were doing the Ghostbusters episode, you were talking about how unique that period of time was for the use of swear words and how it was delivered. The word fuck and its derivatives are said 74 times throughout this movie, mostly by Brad Pitt.
I was going to say, it wouldn't be Morgan Freeman.
What is this saying now about the mid-90s with a thriller such as this?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's obviously an essential part of that character. He's just, as Morgan Freeman's character says, a silver tongue, which is a great name. So, yeah, I think it's more reflective of that. And just the world, just the anger in the world.
Tarantino had come along by then as well.
True.
So
that's very true. Pulp Fiction was the year before.
Yeah, it was a cool word to use.
How did John Doe select his victims? Was it a long-term planning, or did he choose them on the fly, do you think?
I think they kind of suggested that he was a photographer and he would kind of scope them out and take photos of them and follow them a bit. I think that was the general way he did it.
I think it depends on the victim as well. It varies victim to victim. A lot of them, if you sort of think about it, a lot of them did require quite a lot of planning, particularly the one that was strapped to the bed for 12 months.
Well, he was his first victim, I guess, really, wasn't he, the sloth guy?
Yeah. Keeping a person alive and hidden for that amount of time implies an enormous amount of preparation. This suggests that John Doe already selected Victor and began planning his entire work well before he captured him. Doe probably knew Eli Gould, the second victim, because he was one who kept Victor out of jail as well. There are only 2 victims with a clear connection to each other, and that's these 2. The other 3 don't appear to be connected at all. You know, they actually made a conscious effort with those 2, but the other 3 doesn't seem to be anything. It seems to be quite random. It is possible that they were among the first victims targeted, even though they were not the first 2 to be found. So, also because of what you see in John Doe's home as well, several newspaper clippings can be seen in a cupboard that describe Eli Gould defending Victor and getting him out as well. So there's a lot of speculation, and it doesn't give you all the answers, but that's normally quite a good thing as well.
Well, it makes it even creepier, doesn't it? Because, I mean, like, obviously some of us have done some of those, not the rape one, but some of us have, we've been guilty of greed, I'm sure, and gluttony, and it just kind of, opens the door to all of us could be victims sort of thing, so...
Yeah, I guess that's the resonance of this. And, I mean, the other interesting thing about the 7 deadly sins, as a basic concept, I would say most people these days don't think all of them are all that bad necessarily, especially post-80s, greed is good era. People don't necessarily see greed or even gluttony necessarily as a bad thing. It's almost like a perk of being a first world nation, But this film makes it resonate because you're right, that of the 7 deadly sins, there's a good handful of those that we're, in our more insecure, I guess, introspective moments, we feel guilty of. And that's what the film preys on. It's just, it's great.
Let's talk a little bit about the famous ending, because when people think of Seven, or when you speak to people about Seven in this day and age, they talk about the whole Gwyneth Paltrow's head in a box ending. The ending of the screenplay with the head in the box was originally part of an earlier draft that New Line had actually rejected. Instead, they were opting for an ending that involved more traditional elements of a detective thriller film with more action-oriented elements. Okay, so when New Line sent Fincher the screenplay to review for his interest in the project, they accidentally sent him the original. This is fascinating to me.
Wow, that is magnificent.
Yeah.
Wow.
At the time, Fincher had not read a script for a year and a half after the frustrating experience of making Alien 3. He said, "I thought I'd rather die of colon cancer than do another movie." This is how the Alien 3 experience had an effect on him. Fincher eventually agreed to direct Seven because he was drawn to the script, which he found to be a connect-the-dots movie that delivers upon inhumanity. It's psychologically violent. It implies so much, not about why you did, but how you did get it. So, when New Line realised that they had sent Fincher the wrong draft, the president of production, Michael De Luca, met with Fincher and noted that there was internal pressure to retain the revised version. De Luca stated that if Fincher promised to produce the movie, they would be able to stay with the head in the box ending. So despite this, producer Copelson refused to allow the film to include the head in the box scene. Actor Pitt joined Fincher in arguing for keeping this original scene, noting that his previous film, Legends of the Fall, had its emotional ending cut after negative feedback from test audiences. So, so the head in the box ending, it continued to worry the studio after filming was completed as well. Like, after the first cut of the film was shown to the studio, they attempted to mitigate the bleakness of the ending by replacing Mills's wife's head with that of a dog, or by not having Mills fire on John Doe. So they were really, really concerned about it. Both Fincher and Pitt continued to fight for the original ending. The final scenes of Mills being taken away, and Somerset's quote from Ernest Hemingway, were filmed by Fincher after initial filming was complete as a way to placate the studio. The original intention of the film to suddenly end after Mills shoots John Doe as well, which is sort of implied on the DVD and the Blu-ray as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine if that ending was fact? I mean, that would be it's powerful enough, but just to end on just that shock and then the ultimate redemption of shooting someone, it just punches you in the face. So a lot of people were kind of disappointed with the kind of softening of that ending with the Morgan Freeman voice over out of nowhere. To me, it's just such a devastating ending anyway. It doesn't ruin the film at all. I think it just gives it some hope. I mean, not much, but I think you need something at the end, don't you? Or maybe you don't.
No, I think you do. This is, at the end of the day, this is a broad film. This is they wanted a broad release for this film. They wanted it to be, it was a box office success. Sometimes you have to make, a little sacrifice for the greater good, and maybe the film, wouldn't have had such great word of mouth with a bleaker ending. And if that serves the success of the film, it's a small thing. I'd say that's a relatively small thing in the scheme of things.
Yeah, it's so bleak already.
Yeah.
It's like, and for me, like, this film sits along with films like The Exorcist or Midnight Express, where you just and it was around that, like, when this film came out, I was that age where I'd kind of caught up with those films, and it was a depressing time. I think it was like in the space, like I was telling you earlier, I didn't get to see this film because they wouldn't let me in at the cinema, so my dad took me home and got Midnight Express out on video, which is this was my birthday. This was my birthday. Check out, watch Midnight Express.
Apparently, if you pause the movie as the photographer is taking pictures of Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman at the sloth crime scene, you can actually see Kevin Spacey, as in, like, they didn't just use a stuntman or something. Apparently, he is actually in that scene.
Yeah, right.
But you do have to run your DVD or your Blu-ray in slow motion.
Such a clever little scene that, like, you wouldn't have seen that coming, back in '95. It's just a little scene, not important, but so important in the end.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the DVD and Blu-ray releases that have been released for Seven. It originally came out in 2000 on DVD, and this was quite a significant DVD. It has a lot on it. It also...
Definitely. And we were talking about this just before the recording. Just to put it in perspective, DVD came out, extras were what pushed them really along. But there was a huge disparity between which films had amazing extras, and it was usually driven by the director in the studio, and which had absolutely nothing. Ghostbusters was one of the greatest releases of that era, and Seven is right up alongside it for just being cram-packed full of some of the most amazing extras for a film.
Well thought out extras.
So well thought out, and deserving of this film as well. So
amazing picture and sound quality, and the DVD and Blu-ray are highlighted by not one but 4 commentary tracks.
Yeah.
How many movies get 4 commentary tracks? And Fincher is involved in all 4 of them in some capacity.
He always makes a great Blu-ray release, Fincher. They're always like mini film schools to themselves, and they're always exciting when they come out, because you're going to just learn so much.
Absolutely.
You're the commentary guy.
Let's talk about commentary really quickly. I only listened to one of the 4.
The actors one?
I listened to the actors one with Fincher, because that's what I'm more interested in generally, hearing the director's perspective and then talking to the actors about it. And given from listening to the commentary how significant Brad Pitt was in getting the film made, and it's really nice to hear these guys reconnect over the film. There's been criticism about that particular commentary. Apparently Morgan Freeman's not in the room. Morgan Freeman did a separate track, is then edited into the Fincher Pitt track, and they are in the same room together. There's criticism that the Morgan stuff sounds kind of forced in. Morgan can be a little bit dry and a bit boring, but if you've ever heard him interviewed at length, he is a bit dry and a bit boring. But the criticism, I don't think, is valid that he brings it down. His bits are put in the right spot. And Morgan is one of the most precise, well thought out actors you're going to find. Nothing he does is by accident. He's not a Anthony Hopkins who just rocks up on set and just kind of, camera starts rolling and he gets into it. Morgan thinks about every single tiny element that he's going to do, and it's nice to hear him talk about it. Maybe we could have less of it in the commentary and more of Pitt and Fincher, but I don't know. I think it's really well done. So there's The Stars is the one I listened to, which was an amazing commentary, and on its own would make this DVD set worth buying.
Andrew, you've heard or you've sampled some of the other commentaries as well. Are they as interesting as that one?
Well, yeah, I mean, because I love this film, it's fascinating. So every facet is really discussed, and just the craftsmanship of everyone involved, you really get a really good idea of just how much input they gave it. The cinematographers, Darius Konji, the production designer is in there as well, the editor, who's an Australian, Richard Francis Bruce, and they all, basically there's an ongoing theme, and when you work on a David Fincher film, it's often your best work, and a lot of them have come out thinking that's one of the pinnacles of their career.
It also has a special feature about mastering for the home theatre. Can you tell us a little bit about what they did in regards to this film? Because apparently this movie looks better on DVD and Blu-ray than it did when it was shown theatrically.
That's a good question, which I don't really know how to answer.
Sorry, I thought that maybe you wanted.
You know what? It is mentioned in the commentary that I listened to, and it's a little. There was something to do with when it was treated for cinema release. It wasn't done on the original film because it was processed and then it was reprocessed a second time, but it was it was a copy of the film. So when they did the DVDs and Blu-rays, they went back to the original film and not that second processed film, and then had to essentially reprocess it for the DVD and Blu-ray, and Fincher got to tinker with it at that point. So I might be wrong, but from memory, that's how he explained it.
I've heard that he thinks that the home presentation is better than it was theatrically. The DVD and the Blu-ray also feature an exploration of the opening title sequence with different options, deleted scenes, extended takes, alternate endings, and lots of production designs and still photos archived. So it's a steal. And the Blu-ray just looks better. It's in HD. It's amazing. So highly recommended. I picked it up for like $8 recently in preparation for this show. Can't speak any more highly about the Se7en Blu-ray. So if you're a fan of the movie, get it.
The only way they could make it better is that every Blu-ray sold, David Fincher comes over and watches it with you. There's no way to make this release any better. He's so thorough and it's amazing. Yeah.
Andrew, let's talk a little bit about the soundtrack and the score to this film. Howard Shore, incredible work on this.
Yeah, well, I think he's one of the most amazing film composers because every film he works on, it's just such a clever addition to the film and it just suits it perfectly. And this is a perfect example as well because it's just it's almost not musical. It's almost just these thick levels of sound and ominous tones. And in the commentary, it's really interesting to see. He explains how he got these sounds. Where he just brush cymbals with the brushes and just kind of distort the sounds. It's so effective in the film because it's just this rumbling, menacing tone that is throughout the whole thing and creates great tension. And it's very minimalist. It's just these ascending notes basically that are just kind of building and building and you're just going with it and it's very tense.
Howard Shore's known for his work on the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogies for Peter Jackson. He also scored, I don't know if you guys knew this, but he's also scored all except one of David Cronenberg's films, every single one of them. Wow. And he's also known for like some classics like The Fly, Big, The Silence of the Lambs, Gangs of New York, The Departed. And there's a soundtrack release. One bootleg and one official release, is that right?
Yeah, there's a soundtrack which has pretty much all the songs, and it has a little suite of short score, and it's great. It's the soundtrack choices are great. The use of kind of 70s blaxploitation music of Marvin Gaye, then some more kind of old school jazz pieces really adds to the film, and it doesn't really tie it to a certain time period.
Are all those songs actually in the movie?
Yeah.
Adam's pet hate. They threw in a couple.
They are. I mean, amazingly, there's some songs in there that just seem completely inappropriate for such a dark film, but you can hear them in the background of some bars and cafes and things like that.
That sequence where they use that traditional piece, that Suite Number 3 in D major, whatever it's called,
the Bach
piece,
air on a G string.
That's very, very effective. I'm really glad that's on the soundtrack.
Yeah, that's that beautiful moment where you get to just breathe in the library when Morgan Freeman's character's studying those books, and it's just you need that. You need that to get your second win for the next part of the film.
Yeah.
Just curiously though, is it you've listened to the score before, just as a casual listen? Is it intense to listen to, or is it quite enjoyable musically? It's just such an interesting soundtrack, I guess, to listen to, or an interesting score to listen to because of the film. But
yeah, it's more of just an appreciation, I think. I mean, it's you basically want to become a serial killer after listening to it. It's so dark and grim. I mean, it's just listening to it on a decent pair of headphones, and just you can hear just the different layers of work in there, and just appreciate it for a piece of work, really.
It's never been released either.
Never, no.
I got my hands on this 25-track bootleg release of it. I don't know why either. It doesn't seem to...
I'm sure it will be. These scores seem to be getting, their due time in the sun now. And
how many of Howard Shore's scores have been released?
There's
plenty. Lord of the Rings stuff would have definitely, but there's
plenty out there.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
Number of deleted scenes from Se7en as well. Originally, Se7en was to open with Detective Somerset, played by Freeman, going to look at an old house in the country that he's planning on buying. The character tears a piece of the wallpaper off and carries it with him. Originally, the opening credits were supposed to play over Somerset's train ride back to the city, but the production ran out of money before they could actually film the sequence. So
it's a really interesting deleted scene. It's worth looking at because you can really tell that it was shot with a real significance and tells a little side of his character which you don't get to see in the end. Worth checking out on the special features. 2
alternate endings which we sort of talked about a little bit before, one shot and one never shot. Particularly, I want to bring up the one or the version where Somerset actually shoots Doe instead of Mills. This one was never actually shot, but it was completely storyboarded. Wow. Opinions on this?
I didn't think it really made a difference in the end. I mean, John Doe wins either way, doesn't he? It doesn't really have an impact who shoots him.
It's interesting, though, isn't it? Because Somerset's retiring. He's done. He's passed on this wisdom to Mills throughout the film. Mills has matured as a detective. There's a nice poetry about Somerset saving Mills's life, well, at least career-wise, is over. There's something nice about that. I can see why they went the way they did, because it's just that starker, massive surprise kind of freak-out ending. But there's a nice poetry about that alternate ending.
And one of them just had, we touched upon this before as well, but one of them just had the one gunshot as well, and that was like the end of the movie. This version, obviously, he shoots him and, more... Repeatedly, so.
I mean...
But Mills doing it is telegraphed earlier in the film when he kicks that door down and he's just not thinking straight. So obviously, you know he's going to do it, and it just tied the film a lot, nicely together. I just couldn't. I mean, I agree. I think that Morgan Freeman, Somerset, pulling the trigger at the end would have could have. I don't think it would have detracted from the ending, the power of it. I think if anything, might have made it a little more interesting.
Yeah. They never shot this version. It just got stored.
Yeah, which is.
Can I ask you guys, like, when you watched it for the first time, what were your emotions? When he was, looking like he was going to shoot him, he was playing it off in his mind. Were you like, yep, shoot that fucker, or were you hoping he wouldn't? You were hoping he would restrain himself?
I don't know. Like, I was just waiting for the film to show me what was going to happen. I was enthralled in it. Yeah. And watching it this time as well, obviously I knew what was going to happen. I had seen the movie before. But I remember the first time I saw it, I had no idea where the film was going. Yeah. I didn't know what I wanted him to do.
Yeah, it's not a conventional... Like that, especially the last 20 minutes or so of the film, 25 minutes, it's not a conventional ending. It's not a conventional third act. So, like, it's just, even that car ride out, the Stark car ride, where it's just intense. And it's just edge of seat. It's like, just give me something. Anything. Any ending is going to, let me just, get some relief.
Just end it.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this could go for half an hour, Brose. Collectibles from Se7en.
Oh, man, there are so many to talk about, aren't there?
The collector's cards?
There was the Gwyneth Paltrow head in a box play set. There was the... there was the life-size Gluttony costume you could get for Halloween. I mean... it's just intense, There was the Tusk dildo, like everything.
Oh, so it does exist.
I certainly picked up the Se7en show bag at the Melbourne show at the time. It was great.
I'm actually a little bit disappointed that there isn't anything, and not that I was expecting the kind of stuff we just talked about, but I kind of expected a John Doe figure from those McFarlane series. I thought there might have been, McFarlane did all the different horror characters. Not that John Doe fits in there, but he did some other edgy ones in those series. I was expecting there to be maybe these 12-inch Hot Toys figures are quite popular at the moment. I was expecting maybe a John Doe or something, but there's nothing, like even in the adult collectibles world, that I could find.
Even the Christmas Tree 7 edition, they could have taken advantage of that,
You could have done it. There's so much you could do. The other thing that kind of surprised me more, there is nothing. There is nothing. Movie posters. But fans have created some merchandise, well, mainly T-shirts. So there are T-shirts out there that you can get, but they're fan-made. There's a couple of people who've just taken images from the poster and just slapped them on a T-shirt. And then there's another one, someone's designed a 7, that's basically the number 7 made up of the 7 deadly sins, so all the words make up the 7, and that's about it. But it surprised me. It's an amazing film. I thought something would have been merchandised to some degree.
Between September 2006 and October 2007, a series of 7 publications were published by Zenos...
That's another furphy, isn't it? Come on.
Exactly. Were published by Zenoscope Entertainment, with each of the 7 issues dedicated to one of the 7 sins. It told the story from the perspective of John Doe, rather than the 2 homicide detectives as in the film. So that's the closest thing to a spin-off or a collectible or something that I could find. So
I don't know. I guess not all thrillers have collectibles attached, but this film's a little bit different. So
now, in regards to this film at the awards or any of the major award ceremonies, it has 27 wins and 19 nominations, but didn't get much from the Academy. The only thing it got was a nomination for Best Film Editing to Richard Francis Bruce, and it lost to Apollo 13 that year. And that's it at the Academy Awards for Se7en.
The Academy Awards, the Academy don't acknowledge thrillers very often.
True.
And they don't like rewarding this type of violence, I guess. And this is, interestingly, watching it back, it's more implied violence than actual violence, but the Academy are a bunch of old fuddy-duddies and don't like to be uncomfortable. And Silence of the Lambs was a real exception when that won, and so I'm not surprised.
No Golden Globe nominations or awards for Se7en either.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Yeah. But my favourite, which is the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy and Horror Films, which is definitely my favourite of the lot. It won Best Writing for Andrew Kevin Walker and Best Makeup for Jean Ann Black and Rob Botton. And it was nominated for Best Action Adventure Film, which is strange when you think about it.
Yeah, I guess. I guess a horror award action adventure is a bit different to straight.
Also nominated Best Actor Morgan Freeman, Best Supporting Actress Gwyneth Paltrow, Best Director David Fincher, and Best Music Howard Shore. So it got quite a lot of nominations there.
They loved it.
Yeah, they're the ones that matter, Brose, the Academy of Science Fiction Fantasy and Horror Films. Rotten Tomatoes certified 7 fresh with a score of 79%, 53 positive reviews and 14 negative. Here's the big one, IMDb, 8.7 out of 10. That's very, very high.
Yeah.
That's because a lot of reviews on IMDb, like, any film over 8 is regarded as, quite
classic.
Unique. So 8.7 is very, very high from the people that matter, which is the people, the film fans out there. Sheila Johnston, in her review for The Independent, praised Freeman's performance. The film belongs to Freeman and his quiet, carefully detailed portrayal of the jaded older man who learns not to give up the fight. And in his Great Movies List review, film critic Roger Ebert commented on Fincher's direction, none of his films is darker than this one.
Oh, I think that's probably pretty accurate. Watching it again last night, it is an unrelentingly dark, pretty miserable experience in some regards because it's just such a beaten down version of the world, So I think, it tops it in all of his films.
It's time for our traditional 5-star review system and final thoughts. Okay, so I'm going to start with you over here, Andrew.
I've got to give it 5, I think, because it's in my top 5 films of all time.
No, it's in your top 7. Get with the marketing, kid.
7. No, did I say 5?
We started something with the last episode, didn't we?
That's just it had a great impact on me, and a big.
That's worrying.
Maybe want to pick up a gun and start. I always admire it. As the years go by, it's just something to admire as a great piece of art. And True Detective is a great example of a show that's heavily influenced by this film, quite blatantly, and it just tells you how good the film is. It's still being referenced to this day. So, 5 stars from me.
So not just recommended, highly recommended.
Highly recommended. Yeah.
Oh, this is a tough one, isn't it? I'm going to go. Let's do. I'm going to say 4.5. Let's just commit to this, damn it. It's 4.5 stars. This is a 5-star film, I would say, for something that's exceptionally rare and significant and just mind-blowing. This film is so close, it's not funny. I guess the only thing that's stopping it is it doesn't get the respect it deserves to some degree. But what's great about Seven is it hasn't dated, and if you watch it, you're not going to feel like you're watching every other film that came after it that was influenced by it. Like some films, you get that sense of it. This film is so well crafted, and every inch, every second, every minute of it is just deliberate but perfect. The screenplay is tight, the direction is solid, the cinematography is gorgeous, the performances are really good. Like, there's not an element in this film that doesn't work. So it's a 4.5-star film, although based on that summary, maybe I should just say it's a 5-star film. It's a bloody 5-star film.
Just changed it live on the show.
Well, I just listened to my own review of it, and watching it back again, it's a flaw. This is his first real film as a director, and it's flawless. I think this is incredible. It's a 5-star film. Yeah.
There you go, Matt.
Yeah, I think it's similar to Brose. I think it's a 5-star film, but I'm going to give it 4.5 because I just think 5 stars. It's got to be kept for the big guns.
Doesn't have that.
It's not in my top 10. You know what I mean? But yeah. So
you always said you were gonna give your opinions based on how you felt in the moment.
That's right.
Matthew, if I could just probe you further, so to speak.
As long as it's not with a tusk. Sorry, Brose, is that what? Yeah.
Put the prop down, for God's sakes. Yeah. Why? Tell me why that 0.5 is missing.
Wow, I think we're starting a fight.
Yeah.
Well, look, I don't want to open up my thoughts on the films which are 5 stars, because if we do those films down the track, it's a big spoiler alert. And,
what was it lacking, just briefly?
What was it lacking? Well, I'll tell you what. When I first watched it the first time, it was 5-star. But now, having revisited it, and it's a film I go to maybe every 2 years, I'd say now it's just moved down a little bit because of what we touched on earlier with Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Gwyneth Paltrow, because of what they've become. What's his name? Kevin Spacey looks like Carl Pilkington in a lot of the scenes. That's why it's now 4.5.
So we've already got a theme with Matt on the show as well, Brose, is that when he comes on and participates in an episode, he drops his opinion of a movie straight away.
Yeah.
As well, so
You'll probably hate films by the end of this series.
You know what I love about this little interaction here? 4.5 is bloody good.
I know, yeah.
Exceptional. But Andrew's still not happy. He's dropped a 4.5. It's not like he turned around and said, I'd give it half a fart and a packet of chips. It's like 4.5 is exceptional. I can't even think of many films that deserve.
Look, we were friends at the start of this, but it's changed.
Just wait till we do Back to the Future, Brose, all right? Like, just wait till people start giving that under 5 stars, all right? So just wait till they see they won't be invited back on the show.
Wait till people start picking a fight with it. Nice.
Anything else to add to that, Matt?
Well, another half star if Andrew has his way, but no, I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay at 4.5.
Tell me seriously.
Guys.
Fleetwood Mac, 5 stars.
Rumours.
Yeah, if that
5
was
stars.
If that were, no,
5
stars. Right.
7 stars.
Andrew, that's what it's missing. That's what it's missing.
A good hard task.
And myself as well, 7. Definite 4.5 stars. Like I said when we did the Ghostbusters episode, very, very few movies ever made do I give 5, just because 5 implies perfect. I'm not surprised at all that we've got 2 5s already on this show. The only reason I can say, Andrew, why I wouldn't give 7 5 stars is because thrillers with this sort of subject matter is not the type of movie that I could possibly give 5 stars. You know, that's all I've got to say. In regards to the actual movie itself, like I've given it so much praise today already. Yeah, 4.5, but it's practically implying that it's the perfect thriller. That's what I'm trying to imply. But I will not give a movie with this sort of subject matter 5 stars. You have to go into some other genres. And that's a theme that you'll know, that you'll learn over time, and you probably have learnt about me in the time that we've known each other as well. So
Andrew, my summary is that Matt and Adam have just copped out. This is a solid 5-star film. And when we do an average of the scores on the podcast today, and then we round it up, it's a 5-star film.
Yeah, it's going to be great when we do Cannibal Holocaust. But I think the other thing is as well, like thinking back, like Ghostbusters 2, I think I give 3.5 stars. I think 5 stars is just very hard to work within.
You gave it 3, I think.
3.
You didn't. No,
I
sorry,
gave it 3.5. So this is just 1 star better than Ghostbusters 2.
That is wrong.
That is a bit strange, but what I'm saying is it's just that this system's hard to
it is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's
Thanks.
not perfect.
David Fincher's film is a piece of art, and hopefully it goes down like that as time goes on as well. Hopefully more and more people see it who may have missed it originally. So yeah, nothing but good things to say about 7, and I don't want that half star to be absolutely.
What's in the box?
Andrew and Adam aren't friends anymore.
So that pretty much wraps up 7, guys. So just want to thank all you guys for coming along today and for participating. I know very different mood to our first couple of episodes, Brose, with the change of topic, but it's good because we don't want this show to just be about the same type of movie over and over.
Exactly.
So.
It's nice.
However, we are going back and having a little bit of fun with the next episode, which is my friend Brose's choice, Commando.
Yes, fantastic.
Which you're all looking forward to talking about, a little bit of a change of pace. So, that wraps it up, guys. So, thanks very much for coming out. And
thank you.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Good to see you again.
And we'll catch up with you guys soon. Thank you.
See you guys.
Cheerio.